In today's video, we got a VQ that literally had a rod end cap fall out of it when we pulled it out of our 350Z.
What?
And then we got a VQ that allegedly runs out of an Infiniti G35 that has 130,000 kilometers on it. But as you guys can see, this engine is missing some stuff. It doesn't have the alternator, AC compressor, power steering pump, any of the accessories on it. I can tell by looking at this engine that there is some oil leaks around this area, and it's pretty greasy and grimy. So I want to strip this entire engine down and reseal it. But first, I am very curious to see how much catastrophic failure is in this engine. Plus, we need to strip the harness off of this engine to swap it onto this one. So what is going on, boys, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we are sitting at about 9,300 subscribers. We're creeping up to the 10K mark. So if you guys are not subscribed to the channel already, make sure you hit the subscribe button. I'll admit the views have been down lately. I know a lot of you guys want the Honda content back. You want the Subaru content back. But right now, I'm just trying to enjoy myself. I've always wanted to build a 350. I've always wanted a drift car. So that's what we're doing. The Honda will be back in the summer. So will the Subaru. But for now, I'm gonna have fun. I'm gonna focus on these and do what I wanna do rather than just working on the cars just for the content. I'm working on them because I enjoy it. Another thing you guys mentioned was that it felt like with the other mic that I was yelling at the camera too much. So I switched back to my Rode wireless mics. We're gonna see if this makes difference, sounds a little bit better for you guys. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. The first thing that we got to do today's video is get our blown up engine onto the engine stand and get our good engine just sitting on a tire, because I want to be able to strip this one right down to a bare block, and we're going to salvage all the parts that we possibly can off this one because it's a drift car, and that way we can have spare parts for a good engine. One of the things that I am most curious about with this engine and how much this project is going to cost us with it being a budget built drift car is if the clutch is still okay. Now we're about to pull this pressure plate off and find out. All right, moment of truth. Is this clutch destroyed or can we reuse it? It's an Excetti clutch. We're finding a gold mine here. We might be reusing this thing. Looks like maybe an Excetti stage 1. Got a part number on it. It looks like this was replaced recently. This pressure plate looks pretty new. Now I looked it up. This is actually a OEM replacement Excetti clutch. The good news is the friction material still has tons of life left on it. It looks like this thing was just replaced in the last 10 to 15,000 kilometers at least. So we are probably gonna run it just to get a little bit of seat time in at the beginning of the season. Then honestly, it's drifting. We're probably gonna break something anyways. The transmission is probably gonna have to come out for some reason. So we'll deal with that problem when we get there. It's good news. That just saved us $800 for now. Now we got some T55 Torx bolts on this flywheel that are not coming off. That sucks. And then I was gonna put something on the engine to try and hold it from spinning, but it is completely seized. So let's hope this works without breaking adapters. 2 for 2 so far. I'm liking these odds. And this looks like a dual mass flywheel, so I don't think it's machinable. So that's a bonus that we're gonna be reusing this clutch, given that the previous owner replaced it. And that rear main looks like it was leaking. So now that we got the clutch and everything off, let's get this engine back on the engine stand so we can start tearing it down. We've got our blown up engine on the stand, and honestly, let's just get you guys on the tripod and start tearing this thing down. We gotta get all the accessories off, we gotta get the intake off, we gotta get pretty much everything stripped on this thing to transfer over to our used engine. That's hopefully gonna make the car run again. All right, boys, this is it. The moment we've been waiting for. I got the engine completely torn down to where we can access the oil pan and then take the upper oil pan off, pull the timing cover off, and see how much damage is in this thing. But first, we're gonna pull the lower oil pan. I got all the bolts off. We're gonna see how bad this is. Moment of truth. Oh my God. That's the worst I've ever seen. Take a look at how much metal there is. Is that a rod bolt? Holy shit. That thing is definitely seen better days. That is not straight anymore. That has got a solid curve. It completely plugged the oil pickup screen with metal shavings. I'm gonna grab a little magnet here just so you guys can truly see how bad this is. Oh my gosh, that is all metal. I can't even look in there to see what failed or how bad it is, but we gotta get this thing stripped down the rest of the way. Oh, that broke already. Well, this might as well just go straight out to the scrap metal bin. At this point, pretty much every single part we are taking off of this thing is garbage. There's your problem, bud. Cylinder 2 left the chat. I can't believe the rod didn't go through this side of the block. It's sitting right against it. Good thing I was smart and took the bolts out before we put the engine on the stand. Much easier to take this off when the engine is out and on the stand like that. Now I can keep this as a spare part because there is no metal shavings in it. Anything to do with the oiling system, we are gonna throw away. I actually don't have the tool to take those off. I think it's like a 10 mil inverted Torx or something like that. Not 100% sure, but I wanna get the timing cover pulled off anyways. Let's just keep stripping the top down. Engine teardown update. We got absolutely everything stripped on this thing right down to the short block. We got the heads off, and having the heads sitting on the bench here, they look like they are in amazing shape. The cylinder that got the most damage did not smack the valves. There is nothing wrong with the heads whatsoever, other than the fact that there is metal shavings in probably all of the oil galleys. So I'm gonna save these heads as spares. I think that you could get these dropped off at a machine shop. They can resurface the heads and they can jet wash and clean all the oil galleys and everything like that out of these things. If we take a peek at the actual cam girdles themselves on the heads, there isn't any scoring or anything like that on them. They all look pretty good. So these could be a good second set of heads in case you want to upgrade anything in the future. I don't have any plans of upgrading anything on the VQ anyways. If I want to make more power, I'd probably just swap the car. But these could be a good set of heads for someone that's building a VQ. So I might try and sell these or something like that because they could be good for someone who's got a short block with no heads that's building a VQ. But taking a peek at the engine, everything in this engine looks really, really good. Other than the fact that if you take a peek at the pistons on the right side of the engine, you can see this piston is almost at the top of its bore, this one's almost at the top, and that one's sunk. And if you look at this side, this piston's almost at the top, that one's sunk. And this one, I can literally take my finger and push it all the way down. That rod is not even connected to the crank. So what I'm gonna do now to see how bad the damage really is on that thing is we're gonna get this engine flipped over, see if there's any damage to the short block itself. If not, this block can also be salvaged. I went and picked up some new tools here, some E-Torx sockets, because I believe they are an E14 to get the cradle bolts off. Here is the rod that decided to leave the chat. See if this literally falls right out of the engine. There she goes. That is terrible. Look at this piston and rod setup. The piston's a little chewed up on the top, some metal shavings on it, but that rod end cap half exists. Now, taking these main bearings off, they are smoked. This one is completely destroyed. Look at how bad this is. They are heat welded together and in pieces. This is how you remove a crankshaft with the rods and pistons still connected to it. Where did that come from? This one of the main bearings just flew out. Maybe I should hammer the pistons. It is seized in there, dude. Ooh, that one was loose. That rod bolt's bent in the garbage bin. Dude, there's no bearings left on these. Look at this. I just took that off the rod. There's no bearing on there. I think it's, I don't know if it's stuck on the...
No, it's not.
No, it's completely gone. This whole thing is destroyed.
Down.
You push the rods probably right out. This rod literally has like a chunk melted to the side of it, and the bearing is melted to it. I can't even take the rod bearing off. That is clapped out. I thought maybe we could salvage some internal stuff off this engine, but it's looking like this is just an absolute write-off. There literally is a gouge in the cylinder. The oil squirters are gone. All of this is going in the garbage. Yeah. Even the block itself. You could use it for like mocking stuff up if someone's doing like a... That's a
nice thrust washers.
It used to be a thrust washer. That is stripped as stripped can get. So out of everything in this engine, literally none of it internally is salvageable. I got this little drain pan right here with the crank, the pistons, the rods, they're all garbage. When you have an engine that you run that much metal shavings through, it gets in the oil galleys, and I'm fully convinced that there is no way you will ever clean the metal shavings out enough to have a good, reliable engine. So we were able to salvage some stuff from this, like a lower intake manifold, an extra fuel rail, we got extra fuel injectors, all the buckets from the head, some timing chains, some timing chain guides, ignition coils, all the sensors that were on this engine we were able to pull off. As for the garbage pile, we got all the pistons, rods, crank, and then in this drain pan, we got the rear timing cover because oil runs through that, pistons, rods, all of the cradle caps for the crank. Both camshafts are completely destroyed because metal shavings went through those because this car is variable valve timing. And then also the variable valve timing cam gears run oil through them, so those are also garbage. So this entire bin right here is all components from the inside of the engine, and they're all going to the scrap bin, including the block itself, because if you look on the block itself, you can see where the rods absolutely smoked the side of the block. And if you take a peek at the oil squirters, you can see that's what it's supposed to look like. 2 squirters on either side, 1 for each cylinder. If you take a peek at these other ones, that one is completely broken off. And then this one only has 1 squirter left on it. So those also got smoked by the rods or whatever was flying around in the engine when it failed. So this entire engine block is scrap. You cannot reuse it. You can't remachine it. It is going in the garbage. We made some big progress today on the 350Z build. We got all the scrap parts that we possibly could have off of our blown up engine. We figured out everything that was garbage on it. We saw some pretty crazy failures in this thing, and we got all our accessory parts over there that we need. Then our next step, we got an Engine Tech engine reseal kit on the shelf ready to go for this thing so that we can get our used engine resealed and ready to go back in the car so we don't have to deal with any leaks, which is exactly what we're gonna be doing in the next video, which I'm excited to get started on. So that's gonna be it for this video. Let me know in the comments if you guys have ever seen an engine failure that bad before. Like I said at the beginning of the video, we're creeping up on the 10K subscribers mark. So make sure you guys go drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you have not already. That's gonna be it for this one. Peace out, boys. Go build something cool.